Hello and welcome to Marginal Support. I'm your host, Andre, where support is anything but marginal. I'm honored today to have someone I'm actually meeting for the first time. Jen, it's great to have you on the show. Could you just give a short introduction about yourself, what you specialize in, who you are really?
Yeah, thanks, Andre. Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. My name is Jennifer McCorkle, and I am a data-driven leadership guru. I have spent over 30 years in data types of roles and as a consultant and as an employee for companies. And I've done pretty much everything there is to do inside of data management, data engineering, analytics, data science, visualization, leadership, so forth. So it's really a passion of mine to help um, people in businesses learn how to use data analytics and especially AI to get ahead and stay ahead and future-proof their careers.
So that's a pretty interesting spread you just gave me right there in terms of what you do and what you're helping with people. AA is kind of a buzzword these days in terms of you drive on a road and every billboard you see is AI, right? What would be the advice you're giving to someone who says, I want to get into AI right now? What's your
Yeah,
first piece of advice to them?
the first piece of advice is learn which AI you're talking about because AI means lots of different things, right? You hear it all
Yeah.
the time, and there's always a tool for something. So, there's AI that's generative, like ChatGPT, which is generative predictive text, which has been around for a very, very long time. And we also have generative AI as far as like audio, art, video, pictures, and so forth. All the way into machine learning, which is how data scientists and AI developers program machine learning algorithms to think like a human, sort of predict something or figure something out. Like we're going to predict churn, we're going to predict number of calls coming into a call center. Those would be machine learning algorithms. So the first piece of advice is which AI.
I mean, it's so broad right now in terms of everything you can do. I mean, everyone, it's a buzzword. Um, let's focus a little on support right now, since that's my world. Where do you see AI playing a huge part in support? And I want to focus more on the metrics, and then we can focus more on other parts first. But where do you see AI helping support in metrics right now?
Yeah, so the big thing that I would love to see AI help our support teams with is after work stuff. Being able to use AI to grab all the notes from the call, summarize it, stick it in a place where an agent can quickly scan it. Yep, that's what it was, and commit it to the log. I'd also love to see some real time analytics around next best action. So, what's the next best thing, especially around things like sales teams who are talking with customers and wanting to get them, the next best offer, or for troubleshooting, what's the next best troubleshooting thing I can get into, but in real
Yeah,
time, right on the
I
screen.
think that'd be kind of amazing. Like, let's pretend you're on a live chat and you're talking with a customer and you come to a resolution, but then maybe AI says, what they're doing here looks like they may encounter these problems in the future, or the way they're currently structuring their work, they might hit a bottleneck later. Is that kind of the things you're talking about, the way you'd like to see AI progress?
I would, and I'd love to also see it doing some real time sort of here's what the flavor of the call is. This customer seems to be getting upset. Here's some things you can try to de escalate. This customer seems to be really tech savvy. You might be frustrating them by talking to them as if they were six. So it'd be really nice to see some coaching, right? Some real time coaching happening on these calls for whatever that agent needs some help with.
Quite amazing. Basically, take off the kid gloves. They're an adult, so talk to them like an adult.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, like with me being a techie, as soon as I tell somebody like I work in computers, I'm a developer, and they go, oh, okay, and a lot of them will switch into talking my language, and that's really what we're doing, right? When we're in customer support, when we're doing anything with the customers, we want to put the things into the language of the customer.
I mean, if you look at any job description, every single job description says be able to talk at both a non-technical and technical level. And in my experience, a lot of time you are speaking that non-technical, but then once you do speak to someone technical, your brain basically has to make this switch where you're like, oh, they actually understand what I'm talking about. Okay, I can go full on with them.
Yeah, you're going from one person that can like install Linux on their computer, and then you get another call where they don't even know where the power button is. So agents are really
Oh,
having to switch context so fast.
I I remember when I used to do on-prem support for one product, I'd be like, find the start button. What's that look like? Well, it's a button that says start on it to begin with, and they still have problem finding. So it definitely makes it it definitely makes it easier when you're talking to someone who speaks the same language. One advancement I've seen in a lot of AI companies these days is focusing on the voice of the customer, and it's trying to analyze basically what tickets are showing. Okay, we're seeing that a lot of people are reporting issues in area X, but not in area Y. So does that mean that we need to devote more engineering power to these parts of the product? What's your thoughts on products like this that are trying to basically make the back office a little bit easier instead of the front office?
Yeah, I love signals and triggers. So we call that signal detection. So you're looking for something where all of a sudden you've got an uptick in a certain type of call that might point to exactly what you said, maybe doing some provisioning or being able to work on something that's going on. A note might be going down if you're working in like a telecom, or maybe you've got a product that's got a bug, and being able to get that back into the hands of engineering faster.
How do you feel that AI will help improve basically product enhancements? We know that it can probably help spot bugs pretty quick in terms of saying, oh, things are going down. I mean, we see that all the time, learning systems and everything that things start flying red when something breaks. But how do you think AI can help us more in product enhancements and kind of understand where clients want the product to go when maybe product's not even realizing that at this point in time?
I love that question because that's exactly how I use AI in my work. Is I ask it to uncover my blind spots. What am I missing that my customers might be wanting that I'm not even thinking about, that's not on my radar? So I think there's some really great ways that we can be using AI, especially ChatGPT, Claude, anything that's generative, to help uncover some trends and some things. But what I would really love to see it do is automate a lot of those lower level tasks and really allow humans to focus on the things that only humans can do. It can write great code, but the code
Yeah.
doesn't work, and it's really hard for it to troubleshoot the code. Or even better, um, how many times have you had somebody ask you for something and then when you do it, they go, "But that's not what I wanted."
That's a really great point.
And so
No,
humans are used to being able to ask those questions or being able to say, "This is what the spec says, but I really don't think the user wants to do that." So that's where AI is not quite there, and I would love to see it get a little bit better at that, but you know.
I think that kind of goes back to where we are with AI a little bit right now with so much hallucination. And one of the problems with AI is that it can be garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't give it a good resource, then it's going to tend to spiral down. And what you're doing with clients right now, how do you help them adjust for hallucination in AI?
Exactly, garbage in, garbage out. If you do not have the right data in place, your algorithms, everything that feeds your AI is going to be wrong. So focusing on how you're planning on handling your data architecture, your analytics architecture, and your data science architecture. So we have things called like DevOps, model ops, things that are that life cycle of how do we build, deploy, bug fix, reversion, redeploy. How are we continuing to make our systems smarter? As I do a lot of consulting with clients on how they just get their basic data architecture up and running so that they can do all the cool things that AI will help them do.
Right? I think that I was just seeing this post the other day about what the new versions of Gen AI are doing, the new versions of ChatGPT and Claude, and how it's helping write code and it's doing a great job, but it's still making lots of errors. It's creating unnecessary bloat. It's creating lots of just problems ahead. So I think one area I do see it helping with writing code is it will help you basically redundantize some of the stuff you don't want to do, but then you're still going to have to have someone go in there and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Oh, I didn't even think about doing it this way. Do you see that how AI can help engineers right now? It can basically reduce some of that entry level work for them so they can focus more on the actual, this is the hard part and I need someone to assist me with it, not take it over for me.
Yeah, and you have to understand what your model is building. I throw a lot of analytics problems at it all the time, and it hallucinates numbers a lot, where I have to go check the numbers all the time. And I've seen that with code too, especially with things like Python or things I might, as not be as familiar with. If I ask it to build some code and then I've got it on the screen, it's not quite working, I'm not exactly sure what it's doing. So I think a lot of it is give it what it can do, figure out what you're comfortable giving your AI tools to use where it is consistently accurate, but we have to have humans really touch it, make sure that it's working the way that it's supposed to be working. Um, It's funny. You know, I saw somebody the other day that said they asked it to generate some code and it was beautiful. It was designed perfect. It had all the right linting standards in it. It was absolutely beautiful code. And when they deployed it, it didn't work. It like completely broke. So, you know, and I think there's a lot of ways of doing the same thing, and that's what a lot of our engineers are doing out there is they're figuring out that there's many ways to skin the cat, right? And AI is not quite sure about how to do all that yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of people got into it thinking, okay, great, I'm gonna give everything to it, it's gonna spit it out to me, and then I can go do something else, right? But that's not really the case right now.
Low level things are great. You know, I can throw things at it that are very, very low level. If I throw anything very advanced at it, it chokes. It's not sure what to do, and then it hallucinates. It gives me bias. It introduces just random things in that I have no idea where it got it from.
So one tip that a friend gave to me, and I never even thought about this with AI, it's almost meta in some ways, is that when you're struggling with Gen AI and it's just not doing what you want it to do, you just ask it, what prompt do I need to give you to actually get where I want to go? And sometimes that can help course correct, but for some people that just even doesn't make sense. Like, why would I ask Gen AI how to do it when it's now working? What's your thoughts on actually asking Gen AI the correct prompt when it's not working the way you want it to work?
Yeah, so it's really designed to give you what you want it to give you. It's not like you're telling it something it's never heard. It's really programmed on some of these things. So it's I think the best example that I've heard in that place is being able to ask it things like, um, "Don't over-index." Have you used it and it's like it tells you every idea you have is the best idea you've ever had? Have
Yeah,
you experienced that?
yeah, you're just like, you're the greatest person. You're so smart.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need a coach here right now. I just want you to be precise with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So asking it things like research something or give me, tell me how I should prompt you, that's really what it's designed to do.
I think people sometimes are using it just as a chat buddy, and I'm like, it's okay, but it's kind of an echo chamber when you're doing
Yes,
that. I mean,
absolutely.
so
I always
everyone,
ask it for blind spots.
wow,
Don't just agree with me. Play devil's advocate. Tell me where I'm missing something. Tell me how this is not going to work. Here's what my idea is. Help me brainstorm it. And then I throw it back at it. And I think the key is to do it in a new chat. Sometimes it gets stuck in its old log of what you've been
yeah,
talking. So open up a fresh chat, add your idea there, and ask it to play devil's advocate. Pick it apart.
that
Or
is
act as a product specialist and tell me every pitfall
that
that
is
I'm
so
getting ready
smart.
to step in.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Because let's try to circle this back to support. Although we went down a bit of a rabbit hole with AI, which, as we know, that happens when we are using AI. We kind of just start going down the ladder.
Yeah.
Um, what concerns do you have for people that when they start to use AI for support? One of my concerns is that we could unintentionally put PII in Gen AI when we're using it, and then there's never getting that back. So, what do you see as some of the pitfalls right now in using AI for people in the sport world?
Yeah, it's human responsibility and human ethics and making sure that we're using AI the way that we should be using it. It's only going to take one person to make a mistake in an AI model, and then it's hard to get it back to where it's supposed to be because that's what it's supposed to do. It's going to proliferate its information and its knowledge. People think PII means your name,
No,
right?
there's so
But
much
it's
more.
not just that. If I say it was it was a Fortune 100 company in the pharmaceutical industry that makes over $2 billion a year, and it's the CFO, and they're located in Alabama. You can triangulate based on all of these things that don't feel like they're actually saying who you are, but you give it too much and it can triangulate. Any human could go search those parameters and probably figure out who you're talking about.
Well, I mean, you basically unintentionally doxed someone right there. So, I mean, that is one concern that I have with it is that you could put in some proprietary information about a company or a client or anything along those lines, and then let's say a competitor starts searching, and then that could pop up, and then that competitor is going to be like, "Sweet, I got this
Exactly.
information," but the other person is like, "What the heck? Why is
Yeah.
this now in the public realm?" So I think
Yeah.
that's where I see one of the biggest concerns is that people that are doing support will try to just like throw information at it and think, okay, help me brainstorm this, but they don't realize that they are basically giving away trade secrets at that point.
Exactly. That's so true. And in the analytics world where I work, I've seen a lot of people try to throw data into it, and it was exposing information that it shouldn't have exposed. So I think the big thing is a lot of these big companies and bigger companies have purchased enterprise versions of these GPT models that are behind their firewalls. They're safer. Make sure that you're always using your company's protocols and your company's guidelines, and never put anything into the public GPT that could get you into some hot water.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, because like I said,
Um,
all it takes is one time and it's there. One
it's
mistake and it's there.
it's gone. It's one of those things where we used to say you put something on YouTube and it's never going off YouTube. And I think this is kind of the new generation of that. That you put something in ChatGPT or just Gen AI in general, good luck getting that off the internet.
Have you ever done something in ChatGPT where it feeds you a link or it tells you something and when you go search it, you can't find it?
I have given that, like, sometimes it does that where I'm asking for job recommendations or tell me companies to do this, and then it will make up a company. I'm like, how did you just make up a company out of thin air?
Yeah, I suspect that a lot of that could be happening from things like the Wayback Machine, where these tools are archived and they're old or they're not indexed or they're not exposed, and it can still see a lot of those things.
It's interesting. It's basically peeking behind the curtain in some ways, like, oh, don't mind the dust here, don't mind the garbage. We don't use that anymore, but it's like sweet information. I mean,
Yeah, and I don't know that, and I don't know this. I mean, I would think somewhere in the model it would be wanting to purge bad data or purge bad information. So as maybe a group of websites or things go away, is it purging it or is it keeping it in the model's language model and keeping it for forever in posterity?
I think I saw I didn't read to it, but it said something along the lines that ChatGPT will never delete your logs. It's never going to, even though when you say get rid of it, it's going to keep it in perpetuity. Um, you know, even though this is support focused, just enjoying our conversation so much AI that I want to ask your opinion on something that I read recently that was a bit concerning. Me as a sci-fi person, it made me think of Skynet right away. But what I did see in some recent models, I think it was with both Claude and ChatGPT, that they had specifically built it in to say, here are your limitations. Once you hit this limitation, shut yourself off. And these models were actually actively rewriting its code to say, no, I don't want to do that. What do you think about these models where it's starting to get into this area where it is starting to try to rewrite its code, and it's not quite at the self-awareness, but what do you think about where that's going, that basically chain of thought right there?
I think that's a huge challenge for a lot of our developers right now is how do they put those guardrails around their AI? How do they keep it from getting bigger and doing its little Skynet thing and becoming the Terminator? I think that's a big concern. And we see sci-fi stuff coming true all the time, and I mean, it's really cool. I'm a sci-fi guy too, so it's kind of cool about that kind of stuff. But I think that's a huge challenge, and I think as long as people are thinking about it and trying to work through it and trying to put those guardrails in place, I think we can succeed there. But all it takes is one person. All it takes is one person that's working rogue and doing their own thing, and
Then the robots are here, so there. I mean, it is definitely a topic to think about. I don't think we're anywhere close to the singularity, in my opinion. A lot of my friends in the industry say, no, we're nowhere near close to the singularity, but like I said, you never know. It can take one smart person that just says, I'm going to do this as my own project, and then a slip happens, and we're
things
there.
with technology and AI aren't moving every year. They're moving every month. They're moving every day. There are new tools being created every single day that use some sort of model somewhere. And it's proliferating and it's getting overwhelming. And that's why so many leaders I see today, when I talk to them, they say, I think I'm behind. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with AI because every day I hear something or I read something and there's something new and I think I'm behind. And with a lot of leaders, I try to teach them that it's not necessarily about using the AI, but learning how to lead with AI.
Think that's a great point. I mean, it's you only can do with what you're educating yourself with. You can't just go into it blind and think, okay, teach me. You have to actually go in there with some context first and know what you're looking for before you can actually find what you're looking for. So I think that's great advice right there.
There's people much smarter than me solving these issues, and I'm very thankful for that.
Well, Jennifer, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on this show. I mean, this went on some different tangents that normally don't, but that's why I love having people on because we can just have a conversation and let it happen where it goes. So I am just to say for everyone, just keep in mind that support is not just a job; it's a mindset. So Jen, thank you again for being on my show with me today.
Absolutely, Andre. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.